your health. Don't start. Marijuana. Marijuana is an intoxicant drug. It changes the way we think and the way we feel. The effects are quite varied on different people. For some people, it's a stimulant. For other people, it's a sedative. Now, I personally do not consider marijuana a highly dangerous drug, and I feel that it is wrong that it is illegal. As a doctor, I deal with all kinds of drugs, and so I say this on the basis of a spectrum or perspective. For any individual, marijuana can have very varied effects, and it is a very strong psychological drug. Many people have experiences that cause them to be frightened or paranoid, unpleasant and fearful reactions. You don't die by overdosing, but you can have a bad time. It's not physically addictive, but psychological addiction can occur. The main problem for marijuana users is that American culture defines them as criminals. There is a very strong political force in the United States called the war on drugs, which likes to lock up marijuana users. Thousands of people are arrested and hundreds are imprisoned every day in the United States for marijuana offenses. The United States, the land of the free and the home of the brave, locks up more people per capita than any country in the world. And more than 1/4 of the people who are imprisoned in the United States are in for marijuana offenses. And some people, believe it or not, are serving life sentences. A person may think, well, I only have a small amount. But if the police can prove that you shared that with your friends, or that you were planning to share that with your friends, that's possession with intent to distribute, which is a felony. If you don't have a lot of money for a good lawyer, you go to jail. Assuming you avoid entanglement with our legal injustice system, the main problem for young people is that folks who start out using it often use it more and more. And it gets in the way of doing some of the things that you need to be doing. It messes with your motivation. People choose to get stoned and be spacey instead of working hard, doing your studies, participating in sports, God forbid, doing your family chores. You spend too much time spaced out and you waste your life energy instead of being useful and productive. Just like any of the drugs we're talking about here, marijuana can creep into many parts of your life and interfere with what you really do need to be doing. Anyone who is really interested in learning more about marijuana, I highly recommend this book, Marijuana Myths, Marijuana Facts, by Lynn Zimmer and John Morgan. It is well researched and documented, it's reviewed all the scientific studies, and it totally exposes our government's fraudulent propaganda. All right, now let's get on to amphetamines. These are stimulant drugs, your adrenaline-type chemicals, your methamphetamine, your crank, your speed, your dexedrine. I also include cocaine and crank in this category. This is bad stuff. It gives you a great sense of power and well-being, makes you feel like super person. You don't even have to eat. Unfortunately, while you may think you are a super person, you are not. If you take this stuff too long, paranoid psychosis, you lose your mind in craziness. You overdose and take too much, it zaps your heart. Your ticker stops ticking when it passes 200. If you take amphetamines on a regular basis, it is an addictive drug, and man, you need them to get out of bed. You run out, you can't budge. Next, opiates, narcotics. In medicine, it's things like morphine, Demerol, methadone, Vicodin, Percodan. On the street, it's your heroin, which goes by a million different names. Opiates are God's magic, no question about it. They come from opium plants, which grow easily on every continent of the world except for Antarctica. Opiates take away pain and magically give a sense of peacefulness and well-being. Real physical pain is erased. This is an incredible gift to humankind. It is some of the most powerful medicine that doctors have available. But opiates are highly addictive. If you take it and feel good, it makes you want to take more. You overdose, you die. It turns off your breathing just like alcohol does. Take it too long, you will get physically hooked. You run out, go cold turkey, you shake, you shiver, you suffer to the core. Hallucinogens, LSD, psychedelic mushrooms, psilocybin, some of the synthetics. These can cause profound transformations in perception of reality. You can see things, feel things, experience things in ways that are bizarre and very abnormal. Used on a regular basis, they ruin your brain. For most people, the bad trips, times filled with fears and frights, far outnumber the times of bliss. I personally think hallucinogens were given to humans by God for profound religious experiences. Historically, that's how they've been used by cultures throughout the world for thousands of years. And as such, hallucinogens should always be approached cautiously and reverently. Our culture has become a bit casual about it, and that's really ruined it. Hey, I really don't think it's a good idea for young people to use drugs because you're already on drugs. You got your hormones charging through you, changing you physically, changing you emotionally. And that's plenty. If you're going to do drugs, you got to be as safe as you can. Now, don't be naive. Most of the stuff sold on the street is garbage. You got no control over what you get. Zero quality control. If you get stuff at the pharmacy and it says take 2 and you take 10, that's inviting an overdose. If you are going to use needles for self-injection, don't share. Sharing needles is highly risky for transmission of very bad diseases. In Mendocino County, more people get AIDS from needles than from sex. A lot of people die from drugs. In my experience as a physician, about half the time, it's from actually taking a drug overdose, a lethal dose you took too much. The other half of the time, the person doesn't actually take a lethal dose, but gets sick and vomits, and the puke blocks their airway, causing them to die. There are 2 medical things that I want you to learn today to deal with these 2 things. First, before a person